Welcome to the Casual Movie Club. This is the podcast where a couple of friends hang out, watch movies, discuss them, rate them for your listening pleasure. With you as always, I'm Brian, and here is my co-host, John.
What's up? Hey,
what's happening?
How's it going, everybody?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am awesome. And you know what? Wherever a baby cries, we are there.
Yes.
Whenever a beast is threatening to kill, we are close by. It's a reach.
It's a reach. I was on board with the baby crying thing.
Yeah, I know. But either way, we never give up.
We never surrender.
That's right. Because today was Brian's pick for the surprise movie, and you asked me a very important question a moment ago, and I told you that I would answer it once we hit the record button, which we have, because here we are. Hello. Before I answer your question, though, would you like to tell the audience what movie did we do?
It was Galaxy Quest.
Yes. And what was the question that you asked me?
How excited were you, or how excited were you that I picked this movie?
I was beyond thrilled when I saw this because, in the past, it seems like you and I kind of have a slightly different experience with movies. You've got a little bit more experience into the, maybe darker realm of things, kind of the more intense realm of things. I like things a little more lighthearted, a little more silly, a little more fun, and I like my horror movies and everything too. But, it seems like your picks for movies tend to be a little bit more on the intense side, the deep side, the heavy side, which there's a time and a place for it. And I completely respect those movies and everything. So I was kind of fully expecting to go into that sort of movie. Like I thought you were going to drop like Memento on me, or
you can't wait for me to pick Memento. You can't wait.
I'm waiting for you to drop something intense like that on me. So I fill up my alcohol a little bit more today. I'm bracing myself. I'm sitting on the couch, holding on to the arms of the couch, and I'm like, all right, what are we doing? And the next thing I see is Galaxy Quest. I'm like, yes! So I absolutely loved your pick, and I'm just going to go on record to say I do love this movie.
I also thoroughly enjoy this movie.
So I'm cheersing that.
It's a big favorite.
Right.
Don't spill it.
Never. I'm only spilling it down my gullet.
Don't spill a drop. So this movie was... I knew you liked this movie. I didn't want to ask you if you had seen it before. Most of my picks, I'm either hoping it's a movie that you haven't seen before and that it will elicit some kind of meaningful conversation,
sure,
maybe an analysis. But other movies, I would pick for surprises. I also want them to be some kind of I want them to be enjoyable.
Sure.
Yeah. So while I do agree with your assessment that I do like artsier, edgier films,
more intense movies.
Yeah, more intense movies. I like a lot of think pieces too. I like a lot of movies that make you say,
Yeah.
A lot of the artsy stuff, but I like a lighthearted romp every once in a while.
Absolutely.
This movie
who doesn't love a good romp?
Yeah, this movie's in my library. I spent money on it. I love this film.
As did I, actually.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before. For the listening audience, how into Star Trek and the science fiction shows were you growing up?
So that's
even still.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I got a lot more into Star Trek. I'm more of a Star Trekkie than a Star Warsy, if that, whatever the equivalent is.
Sure.
I respect Star Wars for what it is, and we did the episode on Star Wars, way back when, towards the beginning of our time together. But I am much more a Trekkie than I am into Star Wars. I liked the variety of what Star Trek had in terms of the story and things that happened. I'm more of a Next Generation guy than an original series guy. I never got into the spin-offs, like Deep Space Nine or, any of those other, like Star Trek Voyager and that kind of thing. I never got into those because I was very much a purist, a Picard purist. So I loved seeing Picard and doing his thing on the Enterprise. And, that I've watched the Next Generation many times. I've watched the entire series many times, and I really enjoyed that. I found the original series kind of hard to sit through.
Really?
I haven't seen all the original series episodes. I've seen a handful of them. I like the original series movies better than I did the original series TV shows. So I don't know if that would make me a bona fide Trekkie, as whatever the definition might be. I may be, I always like to call myself, be a little more humble. I like to call myself one step below a Trekkie.
Okay.
What about you? What is your enthusiast level of the space science fiction type of thing?
Sure. So I'm firmly in the Star Wars camp.
Okay.
I love Star Wars far more than Star Trek. And I think that might be because of just this could be a very, very long discussion.
This could be a whole podcast episode in and of itself.
A whole podcast of it. But to briefly give you an overview, I grew up watching Star Trek. My father loved Enterprise. Next Generation.
Okay.
Next Generation.
Cool.
Loved watching that. I grew up watching that with him. It was kind of a bonding experience.
Nice.
So I grew up loving that show, but I also saw all the Star Wars movies while I was still very, very young.
Okay.
While I do like Empire Strikes Back far better out of the original trilogy, the first one I really remember liking and getting into, first one I really remember seeing and having an impact was Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So that being said, I didn't get into the Kirk Star Trek, Kirk and Spock, until much later. I watched the original series. I watched that all the way through. I watched the first movies. Loved them.
Yeah.
Loved them.
Yeah.
I could sit and watch those for the enjoyment of the action and the story and all of that. I liked the kind of moral quandaries and like the philosophy,
the prime directive
that
like not
Picard,
violating the prime
Picard
directive.
had.
Yeah. Did Kirk have that too, or no? Was that just a Picard thing?
No, I think they all had that. That's the directive of every starship. Has that directive. It's part of space exploration. So
they don't want to. For those unaware, the Prime Directive was kind of this unwritten. Well, I guess it was written, but this rule, this law that they would never interfere with a foreign alien society's ways. They would only observe, or they would help them, but they would never interfere or have them change anything that would affect them negatively.
So I like Kirk. This is a question for the ages.
Right.
Kirk or Picard, and I think Kirk is a lot of style. Picard is a lot of substance.
I could see that.
I don't know. Again, this is a conversation that we can go deep down the rabbit hole. So
and I think this might be an episode in and of itself.
Yeah. So
just Kirk versus Picard, because I am 100% Picard.
It's hard. I'm 50-50.
Yeah.
I'm 50-50 really. But to put a pin in this and to bring this back around to Galaxy Quest.
Right. Where are you with Taggart?
He's got character. It's a character development. Well,
right.
See, we don't really know Taggart. We know Jason. We know the actor Jason because we're introduced to him. He's a blowhard actor who is puffed up with his self-importance, riding on his laurels, resting on his laurels. I had this amazing TV show and blah, blah, blah. And he's real arrogant and until that conversation in the bathroom in the convention center that really brings him back down to size.
Right. down to earth.
Yeah, Taggart doesn't measure up to Picard or Kirk.
No, I would agree with that.
But I respect the hell out of him.
But what about his command style, though?
I would equate it closer to Kirk than Picard.
I would agree with that because I feel like Picard
There's
always
both.
Right. Picard always had, at least my interpretation or my understanding of Picard, he always had some sort of reason behind everything he was doing. There was a method to his madness. Like whatever he was deciding, all of his command decisions, you could think about it, you could analyze it and see a reason behind what he was doing.
He was a strategist.
Right. But you look at Taggart and he was just reading lines off a page. He was doing stuff because it was what he did. Case in point is when he first gets pulled up to the, the spaceship and, have that first meeting with Saris with the bad guy. And he's like, yeah, just give him red particle cannons and red and blue particle cannons and shoot that and shoot that. He was just reading lines off of what he did in an episode and he just left.
Yeah.
He didn't think, and again, this is understandable because when you look at where that is in the storyline, it's right in the very beginning when you're seeing Jason, the character Jason Nesmith getting pulled up by people he doesn't know are actual aliens, going to an actual alien ship. He thinks he's going to a set. So he's coming at this from I don't know what the hell we're doing. So he just regurgitated some lines that may have been in an episode that he did some time ago. But even then, we really don't know enough about his character to know whether that was a substance move or that was just lines on a page move. I guess we don't know enough about Taggart to really draw an accurate comparison, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's fair to really judge him based off of that.
Right.
I would say the best point to begin judging Taggart, if you really want to make the comparison or see who he's most like, that's going to be when the rest of the crew is beamed aboard.
Yeah.
At that point on.
Okay.
So because everything before that, he's still drunk, he's still hungover, he's still a blowhard. He doesn't take it seriously until he's beamed back down to Earth and then comes back.
Right.
So I like Taggart. I really do.
Yeah.
I just don't think anything he did I don't know. I mean, this guy is really going through the shit, right? One could argue that he is just as good as Kirk or Picard because this big name actor, I guess,
in the story,
was thrown into this real life situation and he's rising to the occasion, if not excelling. Have you ever seen the movie Tropic Thunder?
No.
Oh, that's a funny movie about actors, blowhards, who are they're shooting a Vietnam film and they are accidentally put into the shit. There's actually real life combat, but they're so up their own asses that they don't realize they're in a film.
Maybe this is a good one to do for the podcast.
This would be a good one to do eventually, but this would be a good surprise. We don't want to just decide to do this because I think you'll enjoy this.
Okay.
But it's the same kind of thing though, but the difference between Tropic Thunder and there's a lot of great comparisons between these two movies.
Right.
My point is that Taggart or Jason Nesmith is probably as good as because he rose to the occasion and actually took command, actually made consequential decisions.
Right. And while Jason Nesmith, the actor character, and just to clarify for those who are completely lost, Tim Allen, the actor, the real guy, plays Jason Nesmith, who is the name of the actor in the movie, because the movie is essentially about actors who were on a TV show. So Tim Allen is the real person, the actual person walking around on Earth in reality. Jason Nesmith is the character he plays, and then Peter Quincy Taggart, I think, was his name as the captain on the TV show that he was in the movie. So 3 names for one person, just in case we interchange them, so you guys are kind of with us. But while Nesmith never went to any, as far as we know, never went to any formal military training or had any sort of space command training, he took the experience that he had in the episodes that he was commander in and used that as a way to make his sort of command decisions. So there was something he had a certain degree of experience, a certain degree of training. Is it enough training for him to command a ship? Probably not. But he just happened to have experience that let him make decisions that got them a victory in the end.
Listen,
Right?
I think, yes, I agree with that. There's a couple other examples I'd like to run across you here. But I think just for the purposes of this conversation, let's refer to Tim Allen as Jason Nesmith, not Taggart, because he's not playing Taggart.
True.
He's Jason Nesmith.
Right. He's Jason Nesmith being put onto an alien ship. Yeah. I agree with you. Because they never called, the Thermians never called him Taggart, right?
They called him Commander because that's what he was called on the show.
Right. That was his role on the show.
Yeah.
And they called all the other crew people, they called them by their names. So, Tech Sergeant Chen, Laredo.
When they were all introduced, though, at the very beginning, the crew first was beamed on. They were all introduced because remember the awe that they had when they said, each person's name.
Right.
And then when Sam Rockwell was introduced, they were like, Guy,
crewman number 27 or whatever. Yes.
So
Sam Rockwell
funny.
was so funny.
Oh my God, he was so funny.
I have to say, one of my favorite parts of this was Tommy Weber or Laredo. His screams, like the
yeah, yes,
like after the ship gets attacked by Saris the first time, and they're bringing Laredo off to the medic. I almost pissed my pants because I was laughing so hard because they're like, let's get Laredo to the medical bay. Like
that is so funny.
Why can I scream like that? That's a little scary.
I mean, it's not scary. It's funny.
I'm talented.
You should use it. Use it more often.
There we go. You heard it here, folks. I'm talented.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So what else? Tell me what else about this movie did you like? I wrote down a few things. A couple little minor notes. Like, did you ever see the movie Toys?
Robin Williams?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I love that movie.
Did you notice the robot that was on stage in the very beginning of that GalaxyCon convention thing? The robot on stage is the same robot that was used in Toys.
No, I did not even notice that at all.
Toys is a great movie. We definitely need to do that.
I would love to do that movie. It's actually not a great movie.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I love it. I would put it up as one of the worst movies I've seen.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Not good.
I enjoy it, though.
But I love it. I enjoy it. Oh, I love that movie. I will watch it again in a heartbeat. Don't test me. Maybe.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts early in the movie, we've got Tim Allen. He was I guess he's downtrodden because he just heard like this. He heard the fans what they really think, but it was just two asshole kids in the bathroom of the convention.
Oh yeah.
He goes home. He gets good and drunk off some nice scotch.
Yeah.
Wakes up on the floor, hungover as all hell, and you just see him in a shirt. Right?
I know where this is going.
You just see him in a shirt. He stands up. You can't really see any. Now, maybe I missed this. I thought I was watching pretty closely, but it didn't look like he had any underwear on.
I don't know.
At all. Because his shirt was a long dress shirt. It was a long white button-up shirt, but it was long enough that it went down to like mid-thigh, right?
Right.
So the aliens come up, they knock on his door, he lets them in, and he's like, oh, let me find my shoes. And they're trying to describe to him what's happening, what he needs to do. Right. And he bends down onto his hands and knees.
Yeah, he's on his floor.
If you're familiar with yoga, it almost look like downward dog. His butt is just right up high in the air. And I'm just thinking, these aliens are seeing their idol right now, and he's just blasting his beehole at him, just pointing it right at him.
I know, and then one of the first things they say to him is, "We are so honored to be in your presence," or "so honored to be in this position," or something.
And he just starts winking his brown eye right at him. I loved it, and he has no shame.
Yeah,
no shame.
No shame whatsoever. And honestly, if you were a guy like that, you wouldn't have shame either.
I guess not. No.
No, you're a world-renowned actor, and some people are showing up that you're assuming are just taking you to a gig. Like, you don't give a fuck.
No.
You didn't give a single fuck whatsoever.
If I was that hungover, neither would I.
Yeah. Now, okay, I have to give a shout out and I have to call out Dr. Lazarus, Alexander Dane, Mr. Alan Rickman.
So good.
Rest in peace. Love Alan Rickman. He is my favorite character in the entire movie.
Ooh.
I mean,
he's up there for me. I wouldn't say he's my favorite.
He's my favorite because, I mean, one could argue if they were pursuing this, in a certain way, one could argue Taggart, Nesmith, Tim Allen, whatever, was a little on the arrogant side,
Yeah.
But I loved Alan Rickman's face every time that his little quote came up, that by Grabthar's hammer.
Yes.
His facial expressions are priceless. Like when the guys are coming up to get the autographs from him, and he's just snatching the pictures from him and just signing it, And then, of course, one of my favorite lines is when they're standing in front of that, tech superstore, by Grabthar's hammer.
Yes.
What a save.
That little pause between by Grabthar's hammer, and he just it's like he's struggling to get out the next line. He's like, what a savings. He can barely bring himself to get it out.
Yeah, and the fans love it.
They love it.
The fans love it, but
he's dying on the inside.
Us watching the movie kind of from the outside, we're like, we know how much he hates that line.
Yeah.
But then later on, when Quellic is dying and he's like holding him in his arms and everything, it's kind of nice.
That's a nice moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super sad that the guy dies, but spoiler alert, whatever. But that's the only time that line comes up, and it's like it actually has a little bit of meaning. But everything else, when that comes up, and like even when he's talking to Quellic earlier in the movie, and Quellic is like, by Grabthar's hammer, and Alan Rickman's like, no, just
don't say it.
Just don't. And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Just don't. Just shut up."
Talking about favorite characters, I'm a big fan of Tony Shalhoub's character, Fred Kwan.
Complete antithesis of like Scotty.
Yeah,
Scotty is so confident.
Yeah, I mean, he's back and forth. When they first beamed aboard, and he was just like, yeah, that was awesome. Let's do this. Like, he was totally nonplussed, just unconcerned. I'm here. Let's do this. Everybody else is freaking out.
I'm thinking more kind of as the movie's going on, and he's like, yeah, well, they're saying that the beryllium sphere's kind of depleted, and we kind of need to get a new one. And
loved that. I loved it.
It's so funny.
The other part though, where they're saying, "Oh, you gotta beam up Jason. You gotta beam him up," and he's like, "I don't know how to do this." He's like, "Yeah, you're Fred Kwan. You're whatever the character's name is." He's
Tech
like,
Sergeant Chen.
I'm not Tech Sergeant Chen. My name's not even Fred Kwan. Like, he's probably just there illegally or something, or he's on the run from the law. Even better.
Oh God,
I can see him being somebody like that. Love that guy. He was my favorite.
Okay, that's cool. Did you notice the ship number on the side? It was NTE something.
I did not notice that, no.
So I was looking in the IMDb trivia, and this is hilarious. NTE stands for Not the Enterprise.
There is a bunch of just Enterprise, Star Trek little Easter eggs all over the place. I loved it. The references to like the red shirts are you familiar with the red shirts?
No, tell me.
Oh my God, John. So
Brian, tell me.
Red shirts. This was more prevalent in the William Shatner one, where they would go down to explore a planet, and they'd have a party, and it'd usually be all named characters. It would be Kirk, Spock at the very least. Sometimes it'd be Bones.
Right.
Sometimes it'd be another named character. But there would always be a couple of no-name actors, and they would always have red shirts on.
But Kirk wore red too.
Kirk wore red. Scotty wore red. But whenever they were on these expeditions, Kirk mostly wore yellow for the most part. I'm not talking about the movies. I'm talking about the show.
Okay, yeah, it's been a long time. I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen the show.
He wore red, he wore blue also, but he mostly wore yellow. That was his primary
Kirk
shirt.
never wore blue.
I
don't think Kirk wore blue.
Not as his primary shirt.
Blue is a science color.
It is. I'm not saying that he was a science officer.
Okay.
I'm saying like there were times where he's worn other shirts.
Okay, gotcha.
But he primarily wore yellow, especially when he was down with in a part of a search party. Okay. He's the captain, right?
Right.
So there's always red shirts, and the red shirts are no-named actors, no-named crew members,
right?
And they always died. If you see a red,
the first or second one to die.
They're the first ones to die, pretty much always. And Sam Rockwell had that phobia. He's like, nobody even knows my name. I don't have a last name. And like, you've got a last name. Well, what is it? I don't know. It's Fleegman.
It was like Guy Fleegman, right?
Guy Fleegman, yeah.
And his name on the ship was like Rock Ingersoll, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a reference to Star Trek. So because he thought he was going to be a red shirt, he was a no-name crew member number 6. Yeah. He thought that's where that anxiety came from.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now you mentioned something. I want to call this out. You mentioned something which we rewound to look at again. There was a clear audio and video misalignment towards the end of the sort of big action sequence in the movie here.
They're going to the beryllium thing?
No, this is where they're going through the chompers.
The chompers, that's right.
And you literally pointed out Sigourney's mouth when they're about to go through the chompers, and she's about to say "screw this," but her mouth says "fuck this." Yes. So that was funny. I didn't catch that.
So that was I bought. We were streaming this from my iTunes account, and this is the iTunes version of this movie. I know you've got a version of the movie.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to see if my version has "fuck" or "screw."
Yeah, I'm interested to see that.
Yeah, we'll look at that offline.
Yeah, because it's clear as day. She says, "Screw this," but her mouth clearly says, "Fuck this."
I wonder if maybe that was a edited for TV version, possibly.
It's iTunes. I don't know, but I think that they may have edited this down just for like a PG rating.
Yeah.
I don't think this was a TV edit that I got. I don't think iTunes. When I bought this fairly recently, I bought it a couple months ago, and there's no extended version, director's cut, whatever.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything with this movie either.
Yeah, so I think this is the copy that was released in theaters, and it was likely edited down to be PG because this seems like the kind of movie that would have racier stuff in it.
Sure, absolutely.
Maybe more violence even.
Yeah. I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So there's a scene. Do you remember the scene when Saris is on board the Thermian ship, and he's kind of about to interrogate Malthazar, and Saris is telling Tim Allen's character, explain to Malthazar as if he were a child, explain to him who you are and what you guys do. And Tim Allen's kind of up there, and he's like, I'm so sorry. Did you buy that? Like, do you feel like that was good acting on that part, or do you because that moment I'm really up in the air on, and that kind of affected my acting score, which we're going to get to the numbers in a moment. But what did you think of that scene specifically?
I thought it was genuine.
You did?
Yeah, I felt like he was pained. Yeah. Jason Nesmith, I felt like he was I see where you're getting at. I understand. To me, it came across more as not pained, as in like, I'm really sorry that I have to tell you this. I'm really sorry that I have to put you through this.
Yeah.
It felt more like, this is awkward. I don't want to tell you this.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was saying like, I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this. Or like, I'm sorry to break it to you, that kind of thing. That's sort of how it came to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, I read it as like, oh, this is awkward. I don't want to have to tell you this.
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing for me and my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been putting up this charade the whole time.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
If we're trading questions here. When did Tim Allen, or when did Jason Nesmith, for that matter, realize that he accidentally switched communicators with Justin Long's character?
That's a good question, because I can't think of the answer for that, because
They never called that out.
No, and you're right. They never did, because when they were on the alien planet getting to beryllium sphere, they had the communicators that were working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they were on Earth, right after the by Grabthar's hammer, what a savings! Right after the tech store opening,
yeah,
they had the toy, or like the fake communicators.
Well, the whole crew had the toy communicators,
right? But I don't know at what point did they switch over to working communicators.
Well, I'll tell you.
I didn't. I mean, if that happened, I never noticed.
When Tim Allen was in the parking garage and he bumped into Justin Long, that's
when the switch happened.
That's when the switch happened. But so he had a toy at that point. Then the whole crew had toys.
Right.
And then once they get up onto the ship, some crew member, some alien says, "Oh, here's the communicators." They gave them all translators. That's what they gave them.
Okay.
So the communicators are translators, and that helped them understand like the squid beings. Yeah. But it wasn't. There was no point where Jason Nesmith realized, oh, I have this toy translator, this toy communicator, because I bumped into Justin Long, however long ago that was.
I feel like he knew it before they left to go to the ship initially, because he was like, where's that kid? He was like, oh, I bumped into that kid. Where's that kid? I think he kind of knew it initially from the beginning, but maybe when they got onto the ship, they just got other communicators from their ship stores,
Oh, I didn't remember that line of dialogue till you just said it.
Yeah, because he
knew and then forgot about it.
Right. He pulled out his communicator, which was the toy that he swapped with Justin Long, and then the Thermians show up just at random. And then he's like, wait, where's mine? Oh, where's the kid? Where's that kid? So I think, to answer your question, I think he knew from early on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But then they just got new ones when they got up to the ship.
Yeah, they got new ones. And then he was like, well, I know the kid has one. He knows it more. He knows the ship better than I do.
Right.
I've got one more question for you.
Hit me. And then we'll do some numbers.
How many people died in the convention center when the ship crashed? At the end? At the end. I would estimate dozens.
I would say,
that ship crashed directly into a crowded, quote-unquote, a Galaxy Quest convention.
Right, and I take some issue with that, by the way, because of all the possible places to land a spaceship...
right on stage.
Why would you choose a packed convention center? If it were me, I would go to a field somewhere where there was nothing around, and the ship can just barrel down and land wherever it wants, because it seemed as if it was out of control.
It was out of...
So... why they would pick a convention hall in the middle of a convention about that same show, that just seems a little too stretchy.
It was, I know they were being guided in by Justin Long with the Roman candles and his communicator and blah, 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 blah. But why that convention?
Right. Why there? Why there at that moment?
And if they were able to see the Roman candles and the communicator, why couldn't they just... they had some control if they could use that as guidance.
Right, and I was just going to say, what's the point of them guiding them somewhere if they have no control over the ship to begin with?
Risking all of these lives to crash into a convention center. Dozens, John. Dozens died.
Right. Tens of people. Let's have a moment of silence for the tens of people that lost their lives during the crash of the NSEA Protector at the Galaxy Quest conference in the middle of some random town.
By Grabthar's hammer, you will be avenged.
Yes, of course. And by Grabthar's hammer, let's do the numbers.
Let's do it.
Now, you may be wondering, what numbers are you talking about? Well, over on our website, casualmovieclub.com, you can go to our leaderboard by clicking on the leaderboard button on the top, and you'll see our whole entire leaderboard, which shows the various numbers of the averages of scores between Brian's and my opinions of the movies, and it shows things like the acting. So how well did the actors convey the story? How believable were they? Did it feel like we were watching people that were just kind of doing a job, or did we feel like we were living it with the characters? What else do we talk about on that leaderboard?
We talk about the script. How well was the story written?
Right. We even talk about the presentation. So the editing and visual effects usage. Was it too much? Not enough? Was there copious amounts of green screen, or did it look authentic? What else do we have?
There's music and sound. That those scores are usually based off of the soundtrack, incidental music, sound effects, sound mix.
Yep. And of course, the uniqueness. Has this movie been done before? I didn't say my line. The music and sound, the goodies for your ears. There we go. Uniqueness. Has this movie been done before? Is this something we've seen, or is it something we've never heard of? We also have
engagement factor. How likely are you going to devote your entire rapt attention to this film? Are you going to be reading Twitter? Are you going to be
reading Twitter?
Checking your Facebooks? Or weeding your Twitter?
Exactly. So those being what they are, Brian, how about we start with you and tell me about what you thought of the acting. How did you like the acting?
I love the acting.
Five?
Not a 5. I was really close to giving it a 5. There really wasn't a lot for me to say in the negative towards the performances. Everything was so good. There's a couple. It's all nitpicky stuff, and I could go through and nitpick why this isn't a perfectly acted film, but I think my score will speak for itself when I give this a 1 point. Psych, I'm just kidding. 4.5. Just looked at your face there. You were so offended. 4.5.
4.5. Okay. Well, I respect that, and I'm going to say that I agree with most of that. And I like the way that we're doing our numbers now, because we're kind of doing them while we're watching the movie, so we're getting a really good basis of what we're going to gauge this on, and kind of coming up with this stuff in advance. So we're not kind of doing it on the spot. The acting was the one I kept changing the most for this one. Acting and presentation are the ones I was changing the most. At one point, I was all the way up at a 4.5. At one point, I was down at a 3.75. I was up and down with the acting for the entire bit. I'm going to level off at a 4 because I really liked, people like, I really liked Alan Rickman. I really liked Tony Shalhoub. I really liked, pretty much all the actors I really liked. Nothing drew me out of it was good, kind of approach. Nothing pulled me anywhere beyond that. I did really like it, though. I did like it. So the script, what did I think of the script? Well, I thought the script was good. Nothing offended me about it. And I think there was really good amounts of detail in that script. And one thing I wrote down in my notes is that in addition to this being a comedy and a spoof of science fiction and everything, it kind of is a legitimate science fiction episode of something like this anyway.
Yeah.
This could easily be, if somebody had never seen Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that, if someone had never seen that stuff, the plot of what happened in this particular movie is easily something that could have come from a legitimate episode of that. So I really liked what they did there. I'm giving the script a 4.
Yeah, that's my score also, 4. While I did like the acting more, the script, and I know this was done on purpose. The script hit all the beats.
Yeah.
there was a few points where it was a little unimaginative, and that's mainly due to the character arcs. They were predictable.
Yep.
But I liked it all. I genuinely liked all of it, all the way through.
Nice.
So besides the predictability, everything else was spot on. I scored an even 4.
Awesome. And then what are your scores for presentation?
Presentation suffered a bit for me.
I agree.
Really, the effects were almost all really great. I'll tell you one thing that really took me out of the film was the rock monster fight. The green screen was egregious.
Yep.
It was hard to take that scene seriously. I couldn't really get emotionally attached to the danger that Jason Nesmith was in.
Yeah.
But the puppet effects when they brought the pig up and exploded the pig, the inside out pig.
Yep.
The squid beings, the what are they called?
The Thermians.
Thermians. The costuming was great. Makeup was fantastic. It's just those effects though really took me out of it. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, I feel very similarly about that. For me, the scene that kind of took me out of it was the Chompers scene.
Yes.
I feel like it was just green screen after green screen after green screen, and it just it felt very. I mean, it was over the top, beyond over the top, and it's not uncommon to see this type of thing in a TV show, let alone a movie. But it just seemed like some of that, the chomper scene, also the scene where they're kind of walking across the big fan blade at the bottom and stuff. Like there was just some of that green screen was just blatantly obvious. What I really did like though, I liked how they didn't just do beaming, because Star Trek has the beaming, and it's like beam me up, Scotty, or beam me here, beam me there. They didn't just go right to beaming, and I liked their sort of cone of silence approach. If you've ever seen, Get Smart. Yeah. They kind of made this cross hybrid between the cone of silence from Get Smart and beaming from Star Trek. So I really liked that. I liked how they kind of made it this gelatinous goo that kind of enveloped people, and then they just, off to where they were going. So I liked that. I'm giving the presentation a 3.75. Because I like the way they did all of that, and apart from all the green screening and stuff that we talked about, also I think the little the aliens on the beryllium planet did not look.
I forgot about those. Yeah, they looked terrible.
Yeah,
well, they didn't look terrible.
Yeah.
I'm a little harsh on that, but they didn't look great.
Yeah, no, I agree. But music and sound, I really enjoyed the score to this. I think it was very akin to what you would hear on a Star Trek type of TV show, and I think it was adapted nicely for a movie. I'm giving the music and sound a 4 because I also really liked the sound effects. The sound mix was real good. I really had no problems with it whatsoever, and I think the score was appropriate for what they had. Yeah,
the score was fantastic. It all fit really, really well. It felt perfect to me. It wasn't. I really like the sound effects. I'm going to score the music and sound a 4.5.
It's very interesting that you scored music and sound higher than me.
The thing about that is that this is an experience that these actors went on that's based off of a science fiction TV show that they acted on.
Yeah.
So all of the sound effects in there, the blaster shots, the ship taking off and going through space, the minefield, all of that, all of those sound effects, and the score. The score is just big and brassy, and it set the tone of the film, of the whole story. So I feel pretty strongly about it.
I'm doing a take backsies. I'm going to 4.5 with you.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going with you on that. So, uniqueness. Where do you feel this lies in the realm of uniqueness?
This came out late 90s. Don't tell me it's kind of like 97, 98?
99.
Something like that? 99, okay. Yep. This feels very, very unique. But there are other films that have the same kind of vibe, and it's difficult to say. It's not quite farcical like Spaceballs is, but it feels kind of farcical in the sense like they're troping almost Star Trek, Star Wars to a bit.
They are
more
hardcore troping.
Yeah. But it's not a satire either. They're really doing this story.
Right.
It also has a little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibes, but I think that came out later. I think that came out like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
It also had Alan Rickman in it. So, I don't know. A uniqueness, it feels unique for what it is because I haven't seen anything quite like it, though I can put my finger on a couple of other films that maybe come close. And it's difficult to say what inspired what, especially the later films I'm talking about. So, I'd give the uniqueness a 4.
Interesting. Well, I'm going out on a limb here because uniqueness, I feel like this is the only movie, and a moment ago you mentioned this wasn't a farce, but I feel like in a way there's a bit of spoofing element in here.
Oh, of course,
they're spoofing the Star Trek universe and the Star Trek kind of approach to things. But what I absolutely loved, and I can't think of a movie that does this, was they took the actors as normal people and then put them into the real situation that they were acting about in their day jobs. To me, I cannot think of any other movie that's done that.
Oh, that's Tropic Thunder.
But that came out after.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're right.
So for me, this movie is a 5 on uniqueness.
Okay.
I'm going complete 5 on that because I've never seen another movie that basically told a story of actors, regular people, that were then forced into a real situation that they had seen in their sort of acting jobs, but then they had to put themselves in that real situation. I cannot think of a movie that does that. If you guys can think of one, by all means, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Casual Movie Club. We would love to know. But for me, this is a 5 for uniqueness.
This is something I wanted to bring up earlier. I'm going to get to my engagement in just a second here, but
it's my turn for engagement, but go ahead.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry.
You're good. But go ahead.
I just wanted to say, think about Tom Cruise and the skills that he's accumulated over the years.
Yeah.
The man was in The Last Samurai. The man knows how to fight with a katana.
Yeah.
Think of John Wick, Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
That guy has been. Have you seen his YouTube videos?
A few.
He's been highly trained in the art of gunplay.
Yes.
Throwing these guys in a real life war, I would not be surprised at all if they fucking dominated as one man. Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, the man is Commando.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
The Terminator.
Oh, yeah. And Stallone with his, 5 Rocky movies?
5 Rocky movies, yeah. The man really trained how to be a boxer.
Yeah.
So I'm really, I really enjoy this story.
Yeah.
I really do. But
you want to take backsies? Maybe up your uniqueness a little bit? Or
no, I don't. I just wanted to just talk about that.
That's cool. So, engagement factor. Now, I had seen this movie a number of times, so I'll admit that may cloud my engagement factor a little bit. I did feel like there were a few scenes and a few sequences that really kind of did drag a little bit for me. One of which was when they were on the alien planet going for the beryllium spheres. I felt like that dragged a little bit. Some of the stuff with Tony Shalhoub's character in the kind of, when he's doing his zapping the thing with his little the beaming ray or whatever it was. I thought that dragged a little bit. Some of the bits when they were trying to sort of that ending climax type of scene when kind of everybody's off doing something else. Alan Rickman's character is running with Quellic trying to open up the door to the room where all the Thermians are suffocating, and then Tim Allen's character is with Sigourney Weaver, and they're running through the choppers, and some of that was that whole sequence felt a little bit long to me. I did pick up my phone a couple of times looking at Twitter and Instagram. But again, it may just be that I've seen this movie a number of times. This is a really great movie, and it's one I definitely recommend, putting on in the background. The engagement factor I kind of went back and forth with a little bit. I was going to go 4. I was going to go 3.5. I want to split the difference, 3.75 for engagement.
I'm same boat as you. I've seen this a number of times. I really can't count the times I've seen this movie anymore. But it's a great background movie also. You can put it on, like I say, for other movies like this, you can put it on the background with people over, have a conversation over it, and still enjoy it.
Yep.
Do housework, have it on, and still enjoy it. It's a movie that you can easily just kind of phase in and out of, pun intended. So,
I see what you did there.
But judging by this watch, I was still engaged. I didn't feel slow at the parts that you called out, but I did see my attention wander a couple times. So not perfect engagement. So I'll score it a 4.
Okay, awesome. So do you want to invoke any take backsies? I've used mine already. Do you want to use any for yours, or are we going to say the numbers are in?
Our numbers are in, baby. I feel really good.
Numbers are in, and they go a little something like this. Galaxy Quest, acting 4.25, script 4, presentation 3.63, music and sound 4.5, uniqueness 4.5, engagement factor 3.88, for a grand total of 4.13, putting this right above Mrs. Doubtfire, right below Interstellar.
Wow.
And I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think that's a really good place for it, because I think if Interstellar had its really draggy moments, but there some of the things really had that stand out from the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy with that.
I am too. It's good.
So now the burning question is, next episode is what?
Well, let's.
It's a one we're going to announce, because it's not a surprise, right?
It's not a surprise.
Okay.
I'm out next week though.
Oh, that's right, you are.
We're gonna have to bank one.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So next week is a surprise episode for you guys. We already know what it may be, one of 2 that we recorded, but you guys will get to enjoy it, and I hope you do. And the week after that, we'll be back with something, but we're going to pick it, and you guys will find out what it is when we come back.
And you'll like it.
Absolutely. But as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in and being a part of the Casual Movie Club. And if you want to show your support for the Casual Movie Club, you can do so by going to casualmovieclub.com. Click on Patreon on the very top, and then you can support us for as little as $1 per month. But the more the merrier, and we give you perks for being higher tiers of our
Club, exactly.
Even though all are welcome in the Casual Movie Club. But if you support us on Patreon, you can get access to the podcast a few days early. A few days meaning one. I don't know why I said that, but one day early if you support us $5 or more. You can also find us on many different podcast platforms, places like iTunes / Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, Radio Public. You can also interact with us on Twitter and Instagram at Casual Movie Club. You can send us an email, casualmovieclub@hotmail.com. You can even give us a call at 402-882-2742. And Brian, did I forget anything?
No, you got all of it.
Wow, I am on fire. So anything else you want to say, Brian, or are we wrapping it up?
We wrapping it, baby.
All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
By Grabthar's hand.